I'm going to taste the day.
How's it going, man?
Good dude, good dude. How you been? You've got this huge tour coming up in less than 2 weeks now. You must be getting pretty excited for
Guys,
it.
I'm pumped. I can't believe that it's coming around so quickly, to be honest.
Yeah,
And it's going to be fun to get on the road.
it's such a huge one tour because I look at the lineup. I see you guys, of course, makes sense. You've been doing it it was 6 times, but then you got the Halo Effect, Beyond the Black, and Devilskin. You four guys couldn't sound any further apart from each other. And I kind of think that's magical to have that all on one show as well. Was that kind of done by design or just happened to wind up that way?
It's like when we're billing the LagerStein shows and something like Lagerfest especially, I feel like rather than being like, let's have all the bands the same, like thematically, I like to have that diverse lineup so that each band can kind of tell its own story
Yeah.
and have like this moment in the night. So we pick some different bands so that it's like they really can stand out and shine on their own terms.
It's a good idea too, because it makes a big dramatic shift in the whole night as well. Because especially like, let's say I'm going for Lagerstein, I'm going for Halo Effect, I'm going for Beyond the Black, going for Devilskin. If you've only heard that band before, you're going to kind of get blown away by the next band that goes on because they're going to sound so different. And it just creates a kind of element of surprise, I guess, the whole night for those that don't know.
100%. And I think like, and I do enjoy these kinds of gigs, but when you go to say like a black metal concert and it's just all black metal bands, and it's hard to differentiate the bands from each other at times, and you get a bit of like fatigue on like, okay, I know that's a sick band, but I've kind of just been in that space like already for the previous hour or 40 minutes or whatever. And that's what I've always really enjoyed about diverse lineups is that you can get pumped for, okay, now we have this. Now we have this.
Yeah. And especially being at something called Lagerfest as well. Now, I've been hearing stories. This will be my first Lagerfest, so I'm extremely excited. I'll be going to the Sydney show. Pumped for it. Absolutely pumped for it. But I keep hearing things like you've got the Lagerfest Cup this year as well. There's all these things. What makes Lagerfest different to, any other show that's just running four bands on Saturday night?
Totally. So I think like Lagerfest, it's special because it's like this experience more. We've always done a lot of party games in the past. We've had like jumping castles and stuff like this. We had a chili eating contest one year. That was hilarious. And it's always been trying to blend these fun elements of like a bit of a carnival with the heavy metal gigs. So that, with the same philosophy of the diverse bands, it's like offering just some extra experiences so that you can go into that world of Lagerfest.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a regular club gig, like you said.
That's a beautiful thing as well, because being Australian, no knock on Australians, but we don't get to experience the European festivals. I went to Wacken this year, for example, and just going to Wacken compared to something that's here is just a completely different game. There's so much stuff going on in between bands to the point you get kind of caught up and like, oh shit, better get going. I've got to go see Dark Tranquillity or something because they're playing in a second, but you just kind of doing all the little extra things they have in between. So I guess you're kind of bringing that, I guess, the European culture kind of to Australian shores and just kind of going, you know what? It doesn't need to just be music over the stereo in between bands. Kind of doing something.
And for me, like going and performing at the festivals in Europe, that's like heaven, right? And you have the very best time there. And it's like, how do we capture a little bit of that energy down under? I mean, that's an ever evolving journey for us and our events, but it's my favorite place. Like Wacken, that's an amazing festival, and they're so spoiled for choice in Europe.
Yes.
Whereas we do have some cool stuff, like with good things happening now in Australia. Yeah. But I think there's still even something like the old Soundwaves. There was still just that really big gig, right?
Yeah.
Compared to keeping energy and the community aspect that I felt at a lot of these festivals in Europe. So that's something that in our own little way, we're trying to channel with Lagerfest.
No, and it's a brilliant idea. You're kind of doing it right at right before summer kicks in as well, because Australian summer, if you're not from Australia and you're watching this, Australian summer, we don't have an ozone layer. So we get burnt very easily.
Not. Especially in Queensland, man.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how. I've got my family's up there. I go up there. I burn to a crisp as a ginger boy. It's It's not easy. It's not easy being as ginger as I am living in Australia. So I don't know. I don't know how you do it up that way. But tell me, how's Lagerfest grown over the years as well? Because I keep seeing the lineup, and from where you started to now, I mean, and we keep mentioning bringing the European festivals. You're bringing the European bands here too, which is just something special in its own right. Because it's kind of hard to do that down here. I mean, we're getting two on this bill, two bands I didn't. Well, I was hoping, but two bands I didn't think would ever actually make their way to Australia.
Yeah, I mean, we're really blessed that they were willing to come and join us. And I think like Lagerfest, it began like the very first one. It was in 2013, and in that one, even we had, what do you call it, where you're throwing balls at the person and they're falling in the water. So,
Oh, like the dunk tanks.
yeah, the dunk tank, exactly. So we had a dunk tank, and we got all the different bands to do the dunk tanks with us. So we have always had kind of that vision for, a really fun event that's taking like the music that we love and then combining it with something that's a bit special like that. Yeah. And I think Lagerfest over the years, like we've just kept experimenting with that, trying to fit it out in the venues better and provide like a more fun experience for our guests.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited this year to be hosting these international bands for the first time, though, as well as taking Lagerfest over to New Zealand. So that for us it's a massive step up, and I'm excited for that. But otherwise, we're trying to just keep on that journey of making the most fun festival experience for people. But it's in a nice bite-sized amount with Lagerfest.
Yeah, it's good because us Australians, we go hard or go home. So if you introduce something huge too early, we'd all kill ourselves. So doing these little things in bite-sized amounts is probably the absolute best way of doing it. Because I know I've seen the concert, I've seen the footage, the Brisbane live show you guys do. What a fantastic live experience it is to see you guys as well. Not to kind of blow up the ego too much, but you guys do something special live whenever you perform. It just looks like the absolute best time in the world. It must feel like that when you're up on stage too.
We do have a lot of fun when playing in LagerStein, and being up on stage, that's the special spot for everyone in the band. And I mean, Lagerfest is just grown out of what LagerStein is, and we're always trying to just push that, the boundaries even of what like a live show is, that it doesn't have to be this really distance between like the performer up here, the audience down there, and they got to perform and they got to watch or something like this. And instead make this just like more of an experience that it's happening to everyone a bit. You're on the ship.
And watching you up on stage as well, I want to say there's 9 of you guys. Is that right? Or
7 of us.
7 of you. I don't even know if I have 7 close friends anymore as I'm getting older, but how did you find 7 people that had a passion for this style of music? Because maybe over in Europe, yep, completely understand. It's huge over there. Europe, they're so spoiled for choice that there's just so many different genres. In Australia, not so much. It makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world that we've got guys like you out there. But how'd the band come together? Like, and especially you yourself playing violin and guitar.
So we actually, like LagerStein, it's kind of born out of this scene that doesn't exist anymore in Brisbane, which was like a symphonic kind of death metal scene. There were a bunch of bands, like when I was coming up in the Brisbane scene and first getting into live music, everyone was playing these symphonic metal bands, myself included. Nathan, or the Majestic Beast, he was in another one. Jacob was in another one. So we all kind of circled around doing this like serious but epic music.
Yeah.
And we would do the gigs and it would be so serious, but then we would love to party afterwards and have an awesome time. And we got to this point where we were like, we should make like just a really fun band as kind of like a side thing. And that's how LagerStein started. What we always said, we wanted to have someone who could do a beer bong on stage instead of having to only do it at the after party. And that was the beginning of LagerStein, and we have kind of pushed that and evolved that ever since. And, we were doing that kind of fun interactive stuff from the start, but now we're just trying to create something that's just even more step into our world and you're really there as a part of it. And I mean, we've done that now with like having, say, our rum, our beer, having the different interesting merch pieces that we have. So you can get your Stein and you can fill it with LagerStein lager, and then you can be on the ship with the captain drinking, and you're kind of like, for that evening, you're living as that pirate.
Yeah. It's kind of like living the gimmick. It's almost going to a show. It's not just a concert, it's a show at the same time. And it's kind of special, you know?
I always think LagerStein, it lives at like the crossroad between heavy metal, musical theater, and a house party. Where they intersect, that's kind of where LagerStein is.
So kind of that void between the space, that's kind of where you guys exist and cause all the chaos you do.
Yeah, because I like, heavy metal that's the music, it's amazing. And then the musical theater is having the characters, being on stage, creating a kind of experience for people. But then the house party is the chaos element where you don't know what's going to happen. People jump up on stage. Maybe you're going to go hang upside down off the roof while you sing the captain or something. And we really roll with that and let the show have a kind of like anything could happen aspect to it.
Well, it keeps it exciting for you as well, not just the fans in attendance, but you just don't know what's going to happen. So it's like, I don't know. Do you have any, actually, it's a good segue. Do you have any interesting stories over the last few years that you can tell on this channel of some live experience? I'm sure you've had some you can't, but some just interesting interactions with fans at gigs.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the people who they're so pumped to see the show and so excited to be like there with us in the LagerStein world. Maybe they're out before the gig's even happening, having a beer, having a run with us, and then they go too hard and they don't make the show. That's always hilarious. Like we had when we were in Wales, we met this fan in the pub, and he'd actually driven, like we were getting our lunch, and he comes over and he's driven like 5 hours or something to come to the show. And then he ends up buying us all around. And his girlfriend saying, oh, he's had his tickets for like 6 months for this event. He's pumped. And then he just went too hard and he stayed in his hotel room, didn't make the show.
Oh,
it's the thing that we see, I love the enthusiasm, but you got to pace yourself to make it to the end.
Yeah, that's right. You got to eat before we go out. I know it's cheaper to, forget to eat before you do that, but trust me, it'll make the night worthwhile. So eat if you come to Lagerfest, have something to eat before you go out, because it looks like it's a wild time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most of these venues, they have some food, so you'll be looked up.
Yeah, no, and it's a good venue. Oh, actually, all the venues are playing, especially the Froth and Fury down in Adelaide as well at the Pirate Life Brewery. I mean, it's a match made in heaven, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm super pumped. I've been drinking Pirate Life for years. I've never actually made it out to the brewery. And Jason, the promoter there, he does an amazing event. We had been on the New Dead Festival and performed there. And that was kind of our first taste of working with him and getting to see his shows. But watching Froth and Fury kind of pop up, it's really looks just really sick. You know what I mean? And I feel he's also done a great job of having that kind of diverse lineup. There's a lot of different and great bands there. So, no, I think this is going to be an Adelaide show for the ages.
No, and it's good. Look, even though I'm from Sydney, I have to miss out on Froth and Fury. I'm glad Adelaide gets something, So many concerts and bands miss touring there. This is kind of a bit of a look what we get instead.
Totally. And like, I'm excited to see what it does for the Adelaide scene, to have those people in their corner.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. But getting back to you guys as well, have you already got your set list planned? I know we're only, 10 days, 11 days out from the first New Zealand show?
Yes, we'll be running a couple of different sets on the tour, actually.
Oh, yeah.
We've got it all mapped out. It's a brand new one. And it's got some kind of new theatrical elements, some new skits, some new takes on our song. So, the whole band, we've been working it really hard, and we're pumped to bring a kind of a fresh take of the LagerStein show for everybody.
Wow. Is there any, without giving too much away, is there any song you've slotted into the set list that you haven't played in quite some time? Be it a cover or one of your own?
Yeah, it's fresh, and also especially some new entries into the songs. The transitions we've worked on really hard to like keep that world alive, basically between the songs. That's something that we've been working on a lot as a band lately. It's like, what does it look like to begin from the moment the show starts and getting to the end and feeling like you really kept all the balls in the air, essentially, instead of like going back and being like, I don't want people for a second to forget that they're on a flying pirate ship.
And you look at some of the biggest bands of all time, and as you were saying, I was like, you know what? And there's nothing wrong. Plenty of bands will do a song, maybe they need to tune down for a second, but that's what they do. But you go see Iron Maiden, you go see Metallica, you go see some of these just massive bands, and they've always kind of got these things that transition from one thing to the next. It's almost like you're watching a movie. Like there's no break. It's a roller coaster. If you're going into the next song,
Exactly.
you're going up, you go down, you ride the wave. So there's no real break in the show. It's like watching Netflix. There's no ads, I guess.
No, totally. And it's like that's what we have been really perfecting for this run. So I'm excited for everyone to see it and to also experience it myself.
Look, I'm extremely excited. I love everything you guys do up on stage. My neighbors have definitely gotten accustomed to your music over the last 8-9 months. So I hope they're liking it. But before I let you go this evening, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. I actually sat down with Jennifer from Beyond the Black, and I talked about you guys too. And I said, you've got a song called the Shoey song. She asked what a shoey is. So I described what a shoey is. Now, I might have ruined your guys' experience to try and get her to do one. To say she was a little bit disgusted.
Still, yeah.
To say she was a little disgusted, but though she goes, no, I need to prepare for this. I need to prepare for this. But she still didn't quite know what was going on in her mind. But before I let you go, to all the people out there, because I had so many comments on the last one with Jennifer, say, I don't quite understand what a shoey is. Is it real or is it a drop bear trick? You don't really do it. So I want you just for 30 seconds to describe what a shoey is. Now, I've got my shoe that unfortunately it's I was wearing it today in 36 degrees there. Yeah, and I've got a beer. If you can describe what you need to do to take a shoey, I will do a shoey for the first time ever. I've never done one. I've only ever talked about it.
Okay, fantastic.
I will do a shoey for the first time ever right now here tonight.
I love it. So everybody listening, you just have to ask yourself one question, right? If someone's drinking out of their shoe and someone's drinking out of a normal cup, who's having more fun, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a shoey in a nutshell. Who's having more fun? So, it's this classic Australian thing. So my only suggestion, the LagerStein way to do the shoey, you got to fill up the beer, and once you finish it, you put it on your head.
Oh, okay. So, all right, I'm on camera. So let's pour this one in here. Okay, that's all that. That is dry on my head, and
then we got the shoe on.
I'm going to taste the day.
And we will go shoey, 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 shoey. Smashed it. I love it. Here we go.
Oh, there you go. There we go. We got a little bit. We got a little bit. But
how was it? Did it taste like you've been walking in it?
It tasted like an adventure. It tasted like, you know what? I worked hard today. I went for my 10,000 steps. That's taste a little bit of the Dodd Park in there as well. So yeah, nice.
Like I said, who's having more fun, right?
Exactly. That's an experience, and that's an experience we're going to get to do at Lagerfest as well. Mate, thank you so much. I cannot wait to do this show. Can't wait to see it.
My absolute pleasure. We'll have a shoey together there.
We will. I will definitely make sure to catch you there. I'm going to take you up on that.
Amazing. And thank you everyone who's joining us online and listening to this conversation.
Thank you all.
Lagerfest.
We will see you there, and I will see you guys at Sydney.